All right, welcome back to the channel. Today we're doing another old versus new comparison. This time, the all-new Evil offering. I've gotten good times on all the generations of offering, and I can solidly say this is the best yet. In this video, I'm going to cover what changed, how that impacted climbing and descending, and should you pick one up. Finally, now that we have an enduro build of the offering, I'm also going to compare it to the Evil Wreckoning because while it may have less rear wheel travel with matching 170 forks, the new offering is actually longer than what Evil calls their big wheeled DH bike. Before we get into it, please subscribe. Drop a comment with what bike you'd like to see, and if you need anything for yourself or your ride, check out Jensen USA and the other affiliate links in the description below. Black Friday deals are still firing, so if you need something, now is the time. So let's get into it. Well, first up, what's new? On the technical side, the frame is bumped up to 151 millimeters of travel, and it's equipped to the 160 fork stock. It now has in-frame storage. They simplified the flip chip, boost spacing, there's a seat tube cable clamp, and a rock fender. Those are the detail changes, and I do prefer the original look slightly, especially this line from the front to the rear swing arm. Evil updated kinematics to improve the sensitivity off the top, maintain Evil's beloved mid-stroke, and still have good bottom-out resistance. Going to boost lengthened the chainstay, and in this case Evil settled on 5 millimeters, so that's 435 or 437. The seat tube angle steepened to over 78 degrees and the reach shrank to 481, keeping the stack nearly the same at 633. I feel the big change by nearly 2 degrees was the head angle. Altogether, this makes for a bike with a 1257 wheelbase, which is much longer than the old bike, but still short compared to many new bikes. None of these numbers stand out to me, but it's a combination that really just feels right. And when set up with a 170 fork, to me I was surprised how different things felt, as far as overall capability. Woo! The numbers never tell the whole story, so let's get into how this thing handles on the trail. The offering is still an all-mountain trail bike, but Evil thought it could use some tweaks to push that envelope. First up, and most prominent, high speed and chunk. The new offering maintains speed with less effort. Stability is the big change. I would contribute that mostly to the head angle, but also it's a longer bike. I always felt the old bike did fine for its travel, but many people looked at the old geometry and thought that was impossible. Like I said, it's a matter of the whole package, not just one number. Balance front to back is another place the longer back end or the slacker head tube made a noticeable difference. Weight balance has a huge impact on how a bike jumps and how stable it feels. The short back end made things quick to move around, but on larger jumps, the longer bike is much more easy to jump. But we'll get into that in just a second. Weight balance, when we're talking about chunk, means something marginally different. The old bike's length and balance meant I was either too far forward and could end up with the back end skipping over the top of the chunk, or too far back riding in the bottom of the travel, risking it getting packed down. Really, for its time, and even now, it's just a matter of riding a 140 bike. It's not made for the highest speeds or the nastiest terrain. The new offering, though, allows you to think less about how rocky things are getting, and you go a little faster before you worry about slowing down. It's still not as rock smashing as the new Bronson, but it does more to allow you to get over the rocks rather than just hold on. And this is going to be an area where I struggle to say it's better than the Reckoning. Sure, it sounds simple in that it's longer and almost slacker, but 10 millimeters and a 38 means something, and I think that's that. When it comes down to it, with a 170/38, it does outperform, and I can only imagine how the Vivid would increase that. I have a full review coming with the burlier setup for the offering. And when set up that way, it's a serious competitor to the Evil Wreckoning. The old offering was a surprising package that with a rather steep head tube, still offered a crazy amount of control in the steeps. When the brakes are working and you're creeping down a rock slab or into a chute, control is there. However, once the speeds increase or your brakes become useless, confidence shifts aggressively from the bike to the person. Yeah, it'll handle it, but you have to have confidence in your abilities. The new offering is one of the most confident bikes in the travel range. The only bike I'd compare it to is the Santa Cruz Bronson. If we jump up to those enduro bikes, that's when it has more equals. So comparing it to the Evil Wreckoning, it's pretty simple. With the RockShox Lyric, it's surprising, but not quite the Reckoning. With the 170/38 up front, I don't think I can say. They both do very well. I rode the infamous Chief for the first time ever on the Reckoning. I now do it, or scarier, just about every other ride, The Wreckoning really helped me with that confidence. The high front end is something that means a lot on most bikes, but again, it's a complete package that matters. I'm not sure if it's the new offering having a slacker head angle and being longer, but it was never a question of the bike. The offering just crushes steep terrain. Now jumping, this is an interesting story for me. The old bike was quick off the ground, but I just felt it was too long. When it came to bigger and steeper jumps, it was very dependent on the radius of the takeoff. People complain about getting bucked and often blame it on suspension. Usually it's not. It's a matter of body position and weight. I actually really like the old bike in a medium on jumps. I always felt I was in the perfect body position. I have to talk about the Wreckoning here because the large wrecker also put me in that excellent position for jumps.
We're also a little jump.
That said, the sweet spot felt smaller on both those bikes than it does with the new offering. With those old bikes, it was easy to be too far off the back or too far forward, and that's when you got bucked. The new bike feels better in just about every case. Moving the bike around steep lips, big, fast jumps, it's just comfortable. And still I didn't feel the back end was too long. I found myself trying a few moves that I hadn't in a long time and really wish I had more time with the new offering.
This bike just currently has no piers.
Cornering is another place this bike improved, and I was surprised. Fast, playful, with so much mid-stroke support, the new offering is a winner. Compared to the old bike, I was surprised it didn't feel longer, just more stable. Especially in those sweeping or loose corners, it did a much better job of clawing for traction. In those corners specifically, there are still better bikes, but it's the balance that got the new bike a 5, and I may need to reset the cornering category. Compared to the Wreckoning, it also tracks in a loose corner better and with more stability, especially when you swap in that longer travel 38. I didn't have the benefit of the RockShox Vivid, but based on my experience, I can't help but think that would even more widen the gap between this and the Wreckoning and old offering. The new offering takes a lot of what made the old bike great, increases the capability, but doesn't forget what makes bikes fun versus numb. I almost forgot to cover climbing. So as you can see in the Loam library, the new offering did very well, but so did a lot of bikes. I almost need to add a category for liveliness. The truth is, how climbing has improved is more about ease and sitting there turning your pedals. That doesn't mean they are quick or even feel quick. In some cases, like the new Hightower, they just feel really efficient and keep going. This bike, like the old one, the Yeti SB135 or the Orbea Occam, climbs with a bit more zest. I would say it's not as lively as the following, but it feels lighter at the pedals than some. Where the bike really excels though is the ease of climbing. Being more centered, it takes less control than the old bike on steeps or switchbacks.
Pretty good.
If you like feeling stretched, the old bike is slightly better, but you'll find yourself shifting your weight forward on steeps, and it's not as easy to whip around a switchback. These issues are more exaggerated on the Wreckoning, but all these bikes are very efficient and I never use the climb switch. Traction is great, but again, the new bike makes technical steeps and hard climbs just easier than the old body position.
Whew.
I'm going to touch real quick on quality and value. I've seen a good improvement primarily in the paint from my old Wreckoning to this bike. That said, my Wreckoning was one of the quietest bikes I've owned. And this one is just as quiet. The cable clamp on the seat tube should also decrease cable rub, and less bolts in the flip chip make it easier to use. When it comes to value, this is a heated argument, but I think they do fine. I saw people complaining of the frame being $4,000, but I'm not sure of many cheaper carbon frames. I know there are some, but you get what you pay for. I also like that no matter the drivetrain, you get top-of-the-line suspension and good quality brakes and wheels. Sure, I wish they had some options for Shimano and Fox, but I understand they're small, and if you reach out, they can build you some truly rad custom bikes. So what are my final thoughts, and should you upgrade? Well, if you live near Bellingham or can visit them, hit them up for a demo. After a few runs on the new offering, fun or numb kept coming to mind. You'll notice most bikes in this category have seen the travel bump up a little, but somehow they all also got better at climbing. That's largely due to new geometry and a lot of anti-squat. The truth is that makes it easier to climb the bike, but not always faster. Descending, these have gotten better by becoming more stable. This could mean bike length, stack height, and suspension. Like downhill bikes and even some enduro bikes, this can result in less fun, especially at slow speed. Evil fought hard to keep what makes the offering their most popular bike, and I think they succeeded. It's fun, engaging, and a true enthusiast bike. I've got a lot of people asking about this bike, the new Bronson, and that new Sentinel, They want to know if these bikes are as capable as their enduro counterparts. The quick answer is no, but that's only part of the story. And if you're talking about the Offering versus the Reckoning, I'd probably say yes. I could go with the Offering and never feel undergunned. If you're talking about the Insurgent or Nomad, then things are a little harder. Sure, the Nomad has a bit more for those really hairy moves, but you're also quickly getting into how the bike makes you feel, not actual capability. Yes, the Rocky Mountain altitude is more capable feeling, but I'd rather have this bike or that Nomad. Fun or numb, Evil looked at what was going on in the all-mountain category and said, why would we want to make another cookie-cutter generic bike? Rather than new for the sake of new, Evil sought to make it better and keep the experience distinct. As I said in my original video, Evil made an enthusiast bike for the masses. They didn't just want something for riders to hold on to, they wanted something to be ridden. Fun, playful, sharp. The new Offering both turns up those bland trails and helps you turn off that voice that's constantly telling you to slow down. The Dark Lord of single track is back. Thanks for watching and don't forget to subscribe. New videos drop every Friday with bonus content most Tuesdays. If you need anything for yourself or your ride, check out Jensen USA, Hover Air, the Defiers, and more. Now get out there, go fast, and take chances. See you next week.